Hello, and welcome to another episode of Aligned Heart. This is Misty Springer, and I'm happy to have you here today. Oh, this episode, I could speak for hours and hours on this topic. It is so near and dear to my heart. I'm so excited to share it with you all today because it has made such a profound impact in my life. And I can't wait to share it with all of you. And it's the topic, what are you hungry for? And today we're going to be exploring what you're truly hungry for, and it might be a little different than what you think. And oftentimes you may see your cravings as the problem, but what if they're not? What if the cravings were not the problem, but a solution pointing you in the direction of what you truly want? Think about that for a moment. What if they're pointing you in the direction of what you truly want? What if willpower were no longer necessary around in your conversation around food in your body? What if all the energy you spent on wondering what to eat and when to eat and how much to eat, what if all that were eliminated? What would open up for you? What would be available to you in your brain space, in your energy, if that were just not a thing? What would you do with all of that energy and space and time if it wasn't dedicated to food and your body and not feeling worthy or enough? So if you've ever said, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just stick with this? Why can't I have any willpower? If you've ever laid down at night and had that feeling of tomorrow I'm going to be better, you are in the right place. I know how exhausting it can feel to feel like you're constantly breaking promises to yourself, or like freedom around food is something that other people have, but not you. But most women believe that the solution is more willpower or more knowledge. But what if the opposite is true? What if we are looking at a different way of being with ourselves and our body that comes from a place of love and compassion and care instead of willpower, shame, and judgment? Today, we're breaking the belief that the answer is outside of you, and I'm going to be showing you how the wisdom you're looking for has always lived inside. So imagine if you could feel at peace in your body and love every part of you, imperfections and all. Imagine if you could walk away from the brownie on the counter, say no without the willpower to all the food that makes you feel icky, and say yes to taking care of yourself from a place of pure love. Imagine if you were able to say yes to the food that felt pleasurable just because you wanted to eat it and not worry about one brownie turning into 10, or feeling like the guilt and the shame for eating a quote unquote bad food. Imagine if taking care of yourself felt like a privilege instead of a burden. So, why is this near and dear to my heart? Well, I have had my own journey with food in my body. It's been decades in the making, and I have learned a thing or two on this journey, and I'm really excited to share it with all of you. So, I actually keep a picture in my living room that reminds me of this journey that I've been on. And it's a picture of me and my family, and we're in a photo shoot. We're all dressed to the nines and looking Pinterest perfect. And I remember the photographer saying, "Everybody take a jump. Everybody leap into the air, and I'm going to capture this moment." And everybody, all of my kids and my husband, they are just leaping in the air with exuberance. They just have these fun, excited uh, expressions on their faces. And if you look closely at me, my feet are planted firmly on the ground. I have a smile that was halfway plastered on my face, and I look like I am like half-heartedly hurrahing while everyone around me is jumping with excitement. And I keep this up because at that time in my life, if you would have asked me how I was doing, I would have said, I'm fine. I'm fine. And I was fine. I had everything that I thought that I wanted. And yet I wanted more. I wanted to feel like I was alive. I wanted to be jumping with excitement. And yet I felt like that I needed to the way to feel fine in my body, the way to feel worthy or fill myself up was with food. Because the only places that I really gave myself permission to have what I wanted was food. It was the only time I gave myself permission to stop. I had a very like my programming was do, accomplish more, check off the boxes. If you just keep moving, if you just keep accomplishing, then you feel worthy, then you feel okay. And so the only time that I really gave myself permission to stop all the doing was when I was eating. And so it felt like it was like a craving inside of me for stillness. But the only way I was giving myself permission to have that pause and that stillness was to go into the pantry and eat something. But then I felt shame around eating, especially when I wasn't hungry. So it started to become something that I would go into the pantry and sneak. Handful of chocolate chips, a cookie, walking past the kitchen and seeing the brownies on the counter and not being able to walk on past, just feeling like I had no control over the food. And it felt really frustrating because I was very competent in other areas of my life. I was very capable, and depriving myself was was a what I thought I needed to do. I thought I needed to take away everything that I loved in order to feel like I had self-control, in order to feel like I um, was keeping the promises that I made to myself. And I remember just laying down at night, feeling that shame and that guilt because I hadn't kept the promises that I made to myself. I hadn't like today is the day I'm going to go without sugar. Today is the day I'm not going to eat a food that is quote unquote bad for me. And that turned into this vicious cycle of never being able to meet my expectations and then feeling so discontent and feeling so ashamed at night as I laid down. And what I discovered along the way is that when I was able to start listening to the cravings, I had run from the cravings. I thought the cravings were the problem. I remember sitting down at my computer at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and just Googling why, just tell me why, looking for answers outside of myself. Google, tell me why I am having these 3 o'clock cravings. And listening to podcasts, reading books, talking to my friends. What are you doing? Trying to find all the answers outside of myself to help me with this problem of feeling like I was out of control and wanting to do something different around food. And what I discovered was that the only place I hadn't looked was within myself. I hadn't actually listened to my own wisdom. I hadn't actually looked inward to see what the cravings were trying to show me or point me towards. I was ignoring the cravings, thinking they were the problem when actually the craving was the solution. And I know that sounds crazy, but it is the only thing, the only way that I was able to find peace in my body and peace with food. Because in that process of turning inward and listening to what the cravings were actually showing me and teaching me and pointing me towards, I discovered parts of myself that needed to be healed, that needed extra love and compassion. Giving myself what I truly wanted and giving myself permission to have what I wanted was the pathway to me feeling like I was finally in control over food instead of having food control me. And so, this process of asking myself, what am I truly hungry for, has been a consistent and very beautiful process over the last several years that have taken me into healing and pause and stillness and a connection with God and myself and my body, developing a love and a friendship with my body that I never thought was possible. And that's what I want to share with all of you. So, one of my clients, when I was working with her, she was also struggling with emotional eating. And she had made the comment, I feel like I'm filling a hole in my soul with food. And that has stuck with me for years because that's truly what it is. There is a gaping hole that you're trying to fill with food. And so no amount of information out there, no perfect plan or weight loss drug or um, perfect diet or podcast, the latest way of thinking about food, none of that is going to make any difference if the hole is still there. We have to fill the hole. We have to heal the hole. We have to fill that hole in order to move forward. And this doesn't just apply with eating, this can be with anything. If there's anything that feels like I just need more willpower, why am I continuing to make choices that aren't consistent with what I want? Why is it that I don't follow through with what I say I'm going to do? Anything that feels like that, there's something that you're compensating for. It's a hole that you're trying to fill with scrolling on Facebook, with staying super busy, with not allowing yourself to rest, with brownies, whatever it is, you're filling that hole instead of actually looking at what needs to happen to heal that hole in order to move forward. So, this is an episode on a couple of things about what I know to be true. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to be talking about a program. It's actually a 1-day workshop that I'm going to be offering. It's a group experience in August, and I want to invite all of you to that. It's very low cost, super accessible, and we're going to be going deeper into many of these topics. So I'm super excited to share that with all of you. So listen in. I'll put the link in the show notes as well. So, several things that I have learned along the way that I wanted to pass along. First of all, it's only from a place of love that you can make the changes you so desperately want for yourself. So, taking care of yourself is not about punishment or changing your body or earning something to eat. When you take care of yourself simply because you know that you love yourself, I like to think about this as if you were given a beautiful gift. Let's say that your daughter made you a gift in elementary school, one of those little pieces of pottery that are all misshapen and misformed. And she put so much love and attention into creating this little imperfect piece of pottery. And she hands it to you. And in that moment, if you were to look at that and say, oh my goodness, wow, look at all the imperfections on this piece of pottery. Look at this spot that doesn't, the spot that wasn't covered with the shellac correctly, right? What would your daughter feel? She would be devastated. Right? And yet, how often do we do that with our own bodies? That we only see the imperfections, that we only look from a place of criticism instead of love. So, when you can start to look at your body and yourself, for imperfections and all, from a place of compassion, it changes everything. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. It is the way that every change happens. We never change through shame or judgment. It's a short term fix, but never long term. So, if a long term solution is what you're after, love is the way to get there. And we'll be talking more about this in the workshop on the 13th. So, that's just, we're just introducing this topic here. Second, knowing what you want is a form of self love. So, one of the things that women in particular do is we take care of everyone else before we take care of ourselves, that everyone else comes first. And so, what a form of self-love is actually asking yourself the question, what do I want? How many of you actually know what you want? I know for years, if someone asked me even the question of what do you want for dinner? Where do you want to go eat? I would say, I don't know, where everybody else wants to go. I didn't even know for myself what I wanted. And so making sure you're asking yourself the question openly and honestly with full permission to have whatever it is that you want is a really powerful process to start to show compassion and self-love to yourself. Now, the problem is that we often have the belief that what I want should come second. So that's point number 3. We have to build the belief that self-love is not selfish, that it actually is in my best interest and the best interest of everyone else to have what they want. That when I get what I want, it actually is in my best interest. And one of the things that I like to look to is scripture for this. This is a really beautiful place to find that I find truth. And there is a scripture in Kings that's talking about Elijah. And he is he's had a really rough time. He's been on a journey, he's been on a mission, he's tired, he's worn out, he feels depressed. And he goes and he lays down underneath a tree and he's like, I'm done. Like, I just don't have anything left to give. I want you to think about when you have maybe felt that yourself. And what I find so beautiful is how God approaches him in this time of depletion. I don't have anything left. I've got nothing left to give. I want to read you a little journal entry that I have on this particular passage of scripture. When God is talking to Elijah, he sends an angel, and twice the angel comes and he tells him, just rest, Elijah. He gives him a little cake, he gives him some water, and he says, just rest. You're good. Just sit here for a moment, rejuvenate, refresh. You don't need to do anymore. How many of us feel like we have permission to do that? Or have you felt like you needed to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing? When you allow yourself permission to just rest, what opens up for you? What is there for you? So this is a journal entry that I wrote for this passage. It says, this brings me to tears. There are times when I say, I'm tired. I just want to lay down and give up. And the Lord doesn't say, forget yourself and go to work. The Lord says, lay down and rest. I'll take care of you for a while. Eat and be nourished. Rest and rejuvenate. Sometimes the doing or the act of faith is being still. It's allowing the Lord to take care of us, to know we are still okay, even when we are not feeling it, to know we are enough, even when we aren't doing anything. There's nothing to prove. Nothing I can do or not do takes away my divine worth. Sometimes the most important work I can do, and often the hardest, is to give myself permission to be still and rest, to rest in the fullness of the stillness. Because when I take away all the hustle and the doing and the proving, what I find in the stillness is the only thing that remains: God's pure love. It is the constant. It's always there. It's waiting for me to quiet the noise, to hear his voice calling for me to return to love. So build the belief that self-love is not selfish. Third point, when you deprive yourself, it leaks out in other areas of your life. So when you feel like I can't have what I want, or I don't even give myself permission to know what I want, it leaks out in other areas of your life. You feel like one of the basic human needs is love, safety, and belonging. So if we are not providing that love to ourselves, we're going to go seek it in ways that are unhealthy. For me, it was chocolate chips. So if I am not allowing myself the pause that I needed, if I was not allowing myself the opportunity to feel pleasure or to experience feeling what I truly wanted, which was to feel alive and connected and fun. The only place that I was giving myself permission to feel alive, connected, and fun was with food. It's the only place I gave myself permission to pause. That was the hole that I was trying to fill with chocolate chips. And it was an endless, empty hole that could never be filled with the counterfeit of chocolate chips. What I wasn't giving myself was the time and the permission to just be still. It felt like I wasn't productive enough. And if I wasn't productive, then I wasn't worthy. So you are when you are depriving yourself of what you truly want, it leaks out in other areas. That's where your cravings actually hold a message for you. When you are listening to your cravings, when I paused and actually allowed myself to feel into, what do I truly want? What am I hungry for? Am I hungry for the chocolate chips? No, I'm hungry for pleasure. I'm hungry for aliveness. I'm hungry for pause and stillness. That's what I'm truly hungry for. But I had to be okay giving myself permission to have that in order for me not to have to turn to food to get it. So, point number 4, I just need more willpower, is actually part of the problem. So anytime you have the belief, I just need more, it fuels the belief, I'm not enough. I don't have what it takes. That's why if I just need more willpower, it means that I need to look outside of myself for the answer because I'm the problem. I need to go listen to another podcast. I need to find for me on Google, sitting down to Google, just tell me how to get rid of these cravings. I don't know how to do it myself. It feels like it's so out of reach because we don't feel like we have the willpower or the solution inside of us. But when you start with the belief that everything I have is already inside, every answer I need, even the cravings that I'm having are actually giving me information that is powerful and useful and is going to show me what I need to actually heal. When you start looking inward instead of outward for all the answers, that's when your life can shift. Oftentimes, I use the example of a balloon. So we begin oftentimes with feeling like if I just had blank, then I would, right? So let's fill that in. If I just had skinny thighs, then I would feel more confident. If I just had more willpower, then I would feel like I was in integrity. And when we try to fill up, when we try to create transformation from the outside in, it's like we're trying to blow up a balloon by pulling on the edges. I want you to imagine this, like think about holding a deflated balloon in your hands and pulling on the outsides of the balloon. What happens when you let go of that force of the pull, the tension on the pull? You open up your hands and it snaps right back, right? The transformation can't stick, it can't hold. There's force that is required in holding that expansion of the balloon. As soon as you let go, the balloon bounces right back. That's what happens every single time you're starting to change a behavior from the outside in. You're trying to use force to create expansion and it doesn't stick and it feels hard and it feels frustrating and it feels like you're trudging through mud. It feels like you keep bouncing back to old patterns and old behaviors. That's why it feels like it can't stick. But when you start that transformation from the inside out, when you start with the belief, I am enough, that I have everything that I need inside. Instead of when my thighs are skinny, I will have confidence. It's where am I already feeling confident? Where's the confidence that already lives in me? Let me just expand that. Let me build that belief of the confidence that is already here. When you start to expand the belief that I already have integrity, where are all the places that I already am showing up in integrity in my life, keeping the promises that I make to myself? Maybe it's with your family. Maybe it's that you show up and make dinner. Maybe it's that you pick up one toy on the floor and you feel like you're keeping a house that's clean, right? Maybe it's that you chose an apple instead of a bag of chips over lunch. Those are the places that you're actually showing up in integrity. Build that belief. It's already there. It's not about finding an answer outside of yourself. It's about looking inward, turning inward, and turning up the volume on the belief that is already there. That is like blowing up the balloon, filling it from the inside out. And then what happens? The balloon stays inflated. It doesn't require the force to keep it inflated. It just naturally stays inflated. It's what my clients call becoming different without having to remember to be different. When you start to change the belief that I am worthy of having that what I want, that I am worthy inherently without having to do anything more. When I fuel that belief, when I start to fill that hole in my soul, then the chocolate chips are no longer necessary. Then all the doing is no longer necessary. I actually like to be in stillness and hang out with myself. So when we can start to shift into becoming what we want from the inside out rather than searching for the answers outside of ourselves, when we pause and just bask in the stillness, so much is available. And finally, last point, your pain is an opportunity to pay attention inside now. My cravings, when I started to actually look inward and pay attention to what my cravings had to offer me, that they were giving me the solution instead of instead of being a problem, they were actually the solution. That's when everything started to shift. I'm going to give you a way to do that in the meditation that's accompanying this. We're going to be taking you into a process where you actually are looking inward and checking in with what your body and your pain is trying to teach you. Pain is an opportunity to pay attention inside now. I'm so grateful for the cravings that allowed me to find my way back home to myself. I have found an inexhaustible amount of value in coming home to myself. I want to just highlight a couple of things that have opened up for me as I have looked at my cravings as a solution instead of a problem. I learned to listen deeply to the wisdom of my body and trust it. My body became my best friend. Really, truly, honestly, it's a source of insight and wisdom and the friend I can't wait to hang out with. My cravings for food diminished, and I leaned into the craving for connection and stillness with myself. I learned to listen to my cravings because there were valuable insights that helped me expand and grow in all areas of my life. I discovered my spiritual gifts, gifts that had been dormant in my soul, longing to be seen and expressed. I had to learn to look inward. I had to learn to connect with my body instead of numbing out and disconnecting from my body. I needed to lean in and feel at peace in my body in order for my spiritual gifts to really unfold. I discovered that God spoke to me in my body and heart with a knowing that was powerful and motivating. And I discovered that feeling of alive that I was looking for, that feeling of peace that I was looking for in the cookie was actually inside of me all along. So I have had several conversations in the last couple of weeks with women who are struggling with this very same um, issue with what am I hungry for? I want to feel alive. I want to feel content. I want to feel at peace in my body. I want to take care of myself without feeling like I'm holding on by my fingernails or searching for the next best thing. And so I have put together a workshop on August 13th, 2025, at the time of this recording. And it is going to be a workshop all about turning inward and listening to what your cravings are teaching you. And this can be if you are struggling with emotional eating. It can also just be if you want to feel more connected and in tune with yourself and learn to listen to your body more deeply. Food is a powerful way to get there because we have a lot of beliefs that we hold around food, but you can get there in anything. If you have chronic pain, or if you are struggling with mental health or depression, or even if you're just feeling like I want to feel more connected to my purpose, I don't know what's next for me. I'd like to feel like I could look inside of myself for the answer. I feel a calling for stillness. I just don't know how to get there. That's all going to be a part of this workshop on the 13th. It will be a 90-minute workshop. We'll be doing some experiential exercises. We'll be coaching. I'll be doing some teaching. It's going to be a really beautiful experience, really powerful. I highly encourage you to join live. We'll be doing a lot of in-person experiential exercises. But if you can't come live, it will be recorded and you can join later. Absolutely, we'll get value out of that as well. It's $44. I priced it really affordably so that anybody can take advantage of it. I would love to have you all there. Share it with someone you think would benefit, or a loved one. Um, Happy to have everyone who wants to or could benefit there. So August 13th, I'll drop a link in the show notes. It's 11:30 Pacific time. Hope to have you there. So join me in the meditation that's going to follow this episode. We're going to be leaning into what am I hungry for, leaning into what your body is showing you and the wisdom that's found within, listening deeply and paying attention to what information is there for you. So look forward to seeing you all in the meditation that accompanies this podcast. As always, please rate and review this podcast. If you leave a review, I would be happy to send you a free breathwork session, recorded breathwork session. I would love for you to have something that is there as a thank you. I love the feedback that I've been receiving on this podcast, and how the meditations are helping you to turn inward and find the wisdom within. It just makes my heart full. So happy. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you in the meditation.